coming. Thanks also to the Maltese Society of Arts for hosting us tonight. We are here, well, you have come here, you know why you come here, for your own reasons, to listen to poetry mainly. Poetry which revolves around something which is often not linked to poetry, the potato, something quite simple and everyday. But there is some tradition of poetry about potatoes. Pablo Neruda, in his Elemental Odes, has two poems. One is an ode to the potato, another one, the ode to fried potatoes. And in the first one I mentioned, he describes the potato as the almond of the earth. And then there is a famous poem by Seamus Heaney called When All the Others Were Away at Mass. It's kind of a narrative love poem. I'll read it at the end in Maltese translation. And that talks about potatoes as well as something that brings people together, the simple act of peeling potatoes. I'd like to give a warm welcome to two guests, poets from Friesland, which is a region in the north of Holland. I wanted to bring a map of Holland and didn't have time, but if you visualize, it's hard without a map, but basically, so the Netherlands, I keep saying Holland, it's the Netherlands. Imagine a boy who's looking at his finger like this. In fact, if you're looking at the map behind the map, it would be like this, right? So all the industrial area is here. You have his finger, and then you have lots of little islands, and then there's a head. And Friesland would be the head. Yeah. And Leeuwarden is the eye. Leeuwarden is the capital of Friesland. And Friesland, like Malta, is bilingual or trilingual because English is also taught in school. So there is Dutch, English, and the local language is Frisian. If I'm not mistaken, there are actually 4 types of Frisian, from what I read, if Wikipedia is correct. And there are around 600,000 native speakers, I think, of Frisian. That's more than the population of Malta. And we have 2 poets who write in Frisian, or in one of the varieties of Frisian, Janneke Spoelstra and Hein Jaap Hilarides, who is also a musician. Yesterday morning we visited Rendi. This is Inizjamed command, the commander's garden. It's one of the first places in Malta where people started to experiment with the potato in around 1810, after all of the cotton plantations. When Alexander Ball came to and settled in Rendi, he decided to plant potatoes. And since then, the potato has been a staple part of the staple diet of the Maltese. And ever since 1850, it goes back almost over 150 years, this relationship between Malta and the Netherlands, particularly Friesland, because what happens is seed potatoes from the Netherlands come to Malta and they are planted in around October. It depends on the rains. In fact, in Salle, I heard the other day that they tend to plant potatoes before Rendi. And then in March, April, the full-grown potatoes are ready to be eaten, and many of them, 97% of those, in fact, produced in Rendi, are exported back to Friesland. And so, related to this exchange of potatoes, Fruitje de Jong, who works for Leeuwarden-Fryslân2018, capital of culture, just like Valletta will be, she came out with this wonderful idea, which is why we're here today, of attaching poems about potatoes to the potato sacks. So With the seed potatoes come poems originally written in Frisian or in Dutch and then translated into English and Maltese. And then 5-6 months later, with the Maltese sacks that are then sold in Dutch supermarkets, a poem in Maltese, translated into Dutch, Frisian, English, is attached to those sacks. This project began in 2014, when the first 10 poems from Friesland came here. Last year there were 10 more, and we sent 7 poems from here to Friesland. And I think some of those poets are here tonight. Am I right? I think Claudia, you have a poem, right? Yes. Mario? Hi Mario. So I'll invite you to come and read later on, if you feel like it. And with us today, so there's Janneke Spoelstra, Hein Jaap Hilarides. We also have Adrian Grima, who I think you know, and Rita Saliba also. So we spent 3 days together talking about potatoes and poetry, and we were very kindly invited by the ambassador of the Netherlands for a poetry reading last night. So we're going to start with Adrian Grima. Okay, he has 2 or 3 poems about potatoes, and then each poet will present the next one. Okay. Thanks.
It's my honor to introduce Adrian Grima. I only know him for 3 days now, but what I've seen from him, I think he's a great host, and I read and heard some poems of him, by him, and I'm impressed. For example, about potato poem, where he, I think, compares potatoes without rosemary with something I would never have thought of comparing to. I won't spoil it, probably he reads it. And I heard last summer his 4th volume of poems was published, and I also learned that poems of him are already translated in Italian and more languages, I think, and English, of course. And actually tonight he is also introduced, while he is here, a sound recording is introduced in Friesland, where we come from. So yeah, he's all over the world, but today he is here, luckily, and he'll read to you. Adrian.
For those of you who have a copy of the booklet, there's an English version translated by Claudia over there. And the title is in Frisian, which I will probably mispronounce, and it means rosemary, clean, rosemary. Alla l-clean kollox, rosemary blood, wara tal-clean, freshu fil-wiċċ, u ħalli jiżżabel hemm ġol l-infern. Għax mhux bħal żejt taż-żebbuġa l-clean, mhux bħal melħ l-oħxon, mhux bħal ħin maqbud f'200 grad wara ħġiġa apposta biex tbaska dawn l-affarijiet. Mhux bħal basla mqatta l-clean, jekk it-tiegħi tibqa' tqammeġ, jekk tbaska da tintelaqlek żaqqa l fuq. Jiflaħ għalih l-infern, joħroġ sħiħ, moħħok mistrieħ. Patata mingħajr klin isa ħin mingħajr bnedmin. Hekk Alla, ħin mingħajr bnedmin. Bla taf kif tabet il-afawra, ridet baska il-ħin tqarmċu jew tqedu fuq narbati tqallih. Għax fis-sawna din patata dara motti zaqqa barra għandha l-qoxra qed tintefaħ imma tibqa' żomma l-qalba ħoxna u radba. Tfuħ bil-klin u bl-imbarazz mill-bottijiet u mill-vazetti li jitfala. Ma jkunx irid jitfa' bla doċ, imma ma jitiex. Issa mhux għawedin. Alla tħallix fil-forma ta' titfieħ, għax tinħataf. U bla ma tħares lejn il-ħin, jew tittawwal minn ġo ħġiġa, għadha mdensa b'dak il-fwar qalil ta' żejt imqabbad magħha. Taqbad l-id ikkuttunata. Id-dawwara m'għaddix u toħroġ il-ġolja minn ġol l-infern. Ħaddu il-ġenna. It's a completely different poem. This is about the death of my father, just over 5 years ago now, and it's called Incontinence, and it has been translated by Adrian. What does it leave behind the body? A pair of eyeglasses, a wardrobe full of shirts, a few years' wear, a suit, a scapular, a rosary beheaded. Stubble it leaves, and breath, the incontinent of pain, all shades of suffering, a teaspoonful of water, the gag that makes your diaphragm convulse. Regrets it leaves, a chafe at what should have been, the brash betrayals of time, the incontinent of memory, and then repose, the last betrayal. Inkontinenza. Xi ħalli wara il-ġisem, miċċali tal-vista, gwarderoba ħomos, ftit snin mulbusa, libsantira, labtu u kuruna rasa maqtuha. Il-leħja jħalli, il-nifs, l-inkontinenza tal-uġieħ, id-bajja kull kulur, l-ilma minn ġol kuċċarina, ix-xerqa tirvella lek diaframma. Id-disappunti jħalli, misluħa, dak li kellu jkun, it-tradimenti sfaċċati ta' żmien, l-inkontinenza ta' rikordi, imbagħad il-mistrieħ, it-tradiment aħħari. And the smile slapped bang across your cheeks. I lay the night in the eyes of you, the sides of you, the space that ratifies each breath. I've lived near you. We swell the shrouded diaphragm of days. When I drowse, abandoning me, my legs, arms, chest, the frayed loose ends of mind, you're what I've left to mull. Diaframma tal-jien. Nintelaq fleħnek. Fit-bisima ħabta f'sabta ta' ħaddejk. Nimtet il-lejl f'għajnejk f'ġembejk, fl-ispazji komplikati bejn kull nifs li jgħixtu ħdejk. Nimlaw id-diaframma mistoqbija tal-jien. Imbagħad, meta tmurajni bija u nabbandonani. Riġlejja, dirajja, sidri, it-trufijiet imberfra ta' menti. Nibqalaw dembik.
It's a pleasure to introduce you to Hein Jaap, multi-talented Hein Jaap. So, Hein Jaap Hilarides is a Frisian writer and musician. He grew up on the Leeuwarden Sea coast in the northwest of Friesland. Since 1986, he has been part of the Frisian music scene. In the 1990s, he started to write in Frisian. Hilarides regularly performs as a musician and writer. He is currently working on a novel.
first poem I'm going to read is called, in my language it's called Nije Irpels. And this is on page 23, the English translation that is. And in English it's called Fresh Potatoes. And this was one of the poems mentioned by Adrian, I guess, who was transported from Friesland to Malta. Today, sorry, I should do it in Nije Irpels. Vandaag is een zon bevroren. Onder teerwolken smelten auto's in de grieze snelweg. Het maanlicht is scherp aan de ogen. Laat het irpels regenen, zei het Falstaff. En schuw door het bijgeloof van oudliefde. Wij komen de irpels nach geen 100 jaar. De kooptijd van de irpel, waar tiets eenheid van de Inca's. Ben ik verhuisd door een gebrek aan bevlieging, aan gare irpels, patat en liefde. Vooral liefde voor patat bepalen de economie. Maar hoe wordt onkruid geld? Ik ben staat waar platteland, klooistof in de irpelskillersbak van een tijd. De weest van de dag, een buurvrouw in nachtjapon. Stuuf, wolkjes zand, over polderland, levensgeur van regen. In the Maltese version, it should probably be rabbit hunting. Perhaps, as you know, in Holland, Friesland, there are lots of meadows and with all kinds of wild animals, and it's a sport to hunt them, but it's also necessary, of course, for keeping nature in a stable state. And then as a kid, I went with my grandfather to do this, and I didn't use the rifle, of course, but I was there as a beater. A beater is one who just walks to get the hands in the right direction. Hazenjagen. Wij joegen op verzanten hazen ein en patriezen. Laat en overdag gingen we het veld in. Als het schemer waar, loiden wij in een sloots waal. Op een dag joegen wij ergens dat ik niet wegkwam. Ik was driever. Naast mij vloog een ein uit de ruim. De beste skutter scoort met één zwaai van een loon. Bij één zakken we na. Er waren een soort scoren. Ik kreeg een stuk roggebrood met rood spek. De jagers rookten, een vrouw vulde roos. In een schuurreet waren hazen met de achterpoten aan windbomen. Voor ze strukt worden, hongen ze een hutsie met een kop ondel. Een skutkleur vacht geef bloed aan de snoet, een Lutherkrant op het beton. This poem is called Light the Sea Air, licht de zeelucht. Boven het land zweeft, wat weest het, en blieven zul de folklore van de klooi. Lieke charmant, de wil van een mens te veranderen. Een man loopt door de sliek behaal. Dus, ik ben het met hem eens. Veel van wat hij zaait zit wat in. Niet alles maar hoort worden. Het laatste woord aan wat blieven moet, ligt de zeelucht. Zonder gewicht, de lach. Ik ben blij dat ik erom geniezen kan. Stekken me erom geniezen kan. Repetitie, de redding van de mens. Het tij houdt vast, de tijd slept aan. Eeuwen schelpen, zeegraas. Onhoorbare muziek van planten en planteten. Onbedoeld doel van de geestelijke voltooiing van de mens. Licht, de zeelucht, zonder gewicht, de laag. Het idee van de mens valt samen met het idee dat de mensen van dat mens hebben. Interessant. Maar wanneer valt het idee dat de mensen van het mens hebben samen met het idee van dat mens? Juist. Een mens kan hem niet goed de bek houden. Licht de zeelucht. Zonder gewicht de lach. Tweeslachtig, ik sta tegen ruimte over. Ruimte is plak voor gedachten om te zien veer, om te lopen veer. En wat zien wij in de veerte? Ruimte die ons hoofd niet wezen kan. De rust van een reis. Onderwees in harmonie met een plak. Ik zag de zon gaan van oranje naar rood. Een koe staan gaan. Achterpoten eerst, voorpoten door de knieën klapt omhoog. Een put rekken en naar de melkstaal gaan. I hope I have 1 minute left. Because yesterday I wanted to do this one too, but I forgot. And because it is always nice to have a little picture of, well, this is a picture of when yesterday we went with Adrian to, with Anton to the sea. Oh, sorry, it's not the phone. We walked to the sea, very nice walk, and we saw that, of course, the Mediterranean Sea. Well, if I go to the sea, I also live a few kilometers from the sea, I see more or less this. This is painted by a good friend of mine, but this is the Wadden Sea. You know probably the North Sea, So this is in fact, pointed out the islands. So above the islands you have the North Sea, and in between the islands and the mainland you have the one sea, and the sea is. Special about this sea is that the water retrieves and you have the mud flats, the wetlands. So you, as you very nice picture, it's like a sea of clay. It's in fact a sea of land. On the other side, you have, when you're on the dike, because we need dikes, you have a kind of land of sea. Because when the land is plowed, it's like there are still some waves. That's where I come from. Here we have a lot of limestone, which I find very attractive. In fact, limestone everywhere. So this picture, keep it in mind, and I will read you a poem in English. How to describe emptiness? 1,000 shades of grey. Man divides space. City, the head, mud flats. I fill the senses of hourglass time. Low tide lays bare sediments. High tide silts up. Sea is gleaming grey. In oil paint. Thank you.
She's a Frisian writer and translator. She has a master's degree in Frisian language and culture from the University of Groningen, with a specialization in literary culture, and is also a research assistant in the Department of Linguistics. She is an editorial staff member of a Frisian literary magazine and of a newspaper of the village of Valletta. Yesterday she was talking about her connection with potatoes. Her father grew potatoes. He's now 90, and she grows potatoes instead of him now in her little garden. He told her it's her turn now to, to grow potatoes. I'm probably the only one without a clear family connection with potatoes from the four of us. But Janneke is definitely the best producer of potatoes in our team. So.
I'll start with poem, two poems of the cycle of poems about potatoes. And they are in the booklet, so you can read the translation in English if you like. Lees ik een riappel in de groen, kroep ik naast broer op kluven. Hij wil geen boer worden, hij ken alle vogels. Vertel klompjes, die het loon en de medie kwakkermaatje. Zees de wekkers wat, zuiver. Is huid om het opstrikken, denk om spruten, zo donker. Het sjouwt nooit bakken, hing het er een huisstreep. Fleurig steekt het oranje van het rubber van de knibbels van de kroepersbroek. Kom paken de voorrekerdel, lien het er op straat. Nog er een pilsje onder de tongen, een skrale wien hiemen er. It was springtime in potato season in Friesland, and then it's high summer, in July, August, we harvest the potatoes. And in my youth, my father, well, there was not much machinery around, so we all went to the field and helped. It's number 3 in the booklet. Het huid verdelt, komen tante en de nichten en wij. Huid met de lichter voor ons uit. Omke zet bakken op en hoor. Baal zegt roer dat ze net beschijnen. Komt men terug de daan, maar thee van de grutten die vellen van us. Zitten wij maar rechts in hikken en peel. Met de tijd om de bakken op de wijn, maar ik de laaien, zees ik voort, keerde boek, stapt het hier. Oh, als ik een jongen was hier. That was everything I would say about potatoes. As an old Frisian saying goes, a person is not a potato, so there's more in life as potatoes. But it's still about my youth, and yesterday I was with Adrian in a class in the school in Grandy, and well, sometimes I think I never grew older than 11, but when I was in that school I thought, well, maybe I'm a bit older now. It's not in the book, but I read it in English afterwards. Ze hebben je op een schutter gewoon. Ik had een paken die net leeuwt dat ze op een mannenwest hadden. Die de televisie uitzet als de mannen met een witte kapen van een Ku Klux Klan opwinnen. Een paken die zei, daar zit een kopje op, als ik hem je rapport zien liet. Een bebber die mij een kopje melk injeet. Naar Veronica luistert in schimmeroeren. Ik ben Alver. En in het woorddorp kent elk die orenpaken die het vol verhaaltjes ziet. De bebber dit zo lang ziek weer. Ze hebben je op een schutter gewoon. Maar ik ken die haar. And then in English. They help me on their laps. I have a granddad who doesn't believe that they've been on the moon. Who turns the telly off at men in white hoods from the Ku Klux Klan. A granddad who says, that's a clever one, when I show him my record. A granny who pours me a cup of milk, listens to pirate radio at the twilight hour. I am 11, and in the nearby village everyone knows that other granddad, who was full of stories, the granny who was sick so long. They help me on their laps, but I cannot picture them. From the same side of poems. Immen. Immen worket, had een hoen en worlje. Immen preket. Ben het in een woorddorp en ken de huiden, memmen, pakens en beppen. Net elk zucht zijn benen, met steeds zijn bijensbenen. Als men haar al op een schutter gewoon had, alverwurm. Ik kan mij haar wel voorstellen. Ik ben geen alver meer,